42, the correlation creature, the correlation convict. 42 is back. I am back. I love this topic. It pushed me from, what the hell was this shit? I would never even talk about this. It was nothing to me. But it became such nothing when it was put back into my face recently. So what I did was I took the topic, I'm talking about cultural appropriations, and I wove it into what I was thinking about with Black Vikings, which I'll get to. That'll be the second half. Purpose of this video is to make you think out of the box. That is the only way I can save you. I have to deprogram you. K-Reno style. You will hear me refer to people as African diaspora, Black Europeans, Moors, Morfricans, Akibalonians. For the layman, I'm referring to different clans in the same tribe. Although it should be different tribes, but it's been corrupted. I'm going to start off by telling a story about something in my childhood that should give you a little bit of perspective. I'm probably about 10. So we're talking this is childhood, but it wasn't a singular story. Do you remember seeing old pictures of pagans, European pagans, where they were shaking their ass and they were having fun and they were dancing with satyrs? Sometimes just old school Greek tribes shaking their ass and they're having fun and they're dancing with satyrs. Do you remember that? I used to see those pictures. I knew enough about history to realize that around that time, white folks went off on the world. They started fighting. Maybe they were fighting before, but it wasn't recorded. Right around the time of the Abrahamic religions, when Judaism, around 500 BC, first started cracking, they were fighting. When the Greeks talk about the rest of Europe, they talk about a bunch of people fighting. And I would sort of just have a rebelliousness where I said, well, maybe they were better off as pagans, and you're just trying to shove this to me because you want me to think that Christ saved them. Maybe they saved them, fuck the world. So I would keep that little pebble in my mind to a point, and I would think that they were better off without Jesus, at least for the rest of the world. So when I saw Miley Cyrus shaking her ass at the MTV Music Awards, I didn't give a damn. I was happy. I said, shake your ass, Mealy. I like to call her Mealy. Shake your ass, but watch yourself. Show them what you're working with. I didn't give a goddamn. It took me back to those pagan images. She had succubus horns and furries, and she had black people. That's pagan shit. All of the above. Good show, Mealy. Maybe this is a sign that they're going to lose some of this bullshit, and I was happy. And then when there was a shitstorm about it, I said, what the fuck is wrong with these people complaining? It took me back to a time when I thought maybe these white folks, these pagans, would have been okay. And by the way, I've looked at the Roman Empire, and there are enough people with African features where I can say, Africa, you played a role in this bullshit too. The African has been one of the greatest stimulus to white supremacy, at least the form of white supremacy that fucks the earth. Proven a negative. That's the problem I have with it, is you can't prove a negative. You don't know what's going on through her head. There was this doctor by the name of Boyd Graves. He produced a flowchart that links thousands of pages of documents in the U.S. government, which, according to him, chronicle the development of HIV. Question his facts. Don't question what's in Miley Cyrus's head. The Wahoo is an example of cultural appropriations. I get that it's a real thing. This type of stuff would never work with anyone else. I wouldn't mind seeing pictures of Olmecs on NFL football helmets. And I think the Olmecs were black. Matter of fact, I'm fairly certain if Olmecs were walking down the street with afros and braids, they would be seen as black people. I'm being an asshole today. I don't know why. I decided I was going to have fun, but I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything about that. I was quiet. I was meek. I didn't say anything about my reaction to Miley Cyrus and accusations of cultural appropriation because it just wasn't that important to me. But recently, I was talking to this Mexican woman, and she told me that she does not date white guys that wear dreads because of cultural appropriations. And here it is right in my face again. And this seems so goddamn petty. Where did this come from? So I decided I was going to conduct an experiment, a traditional experiment, and I was going to peer into the Great Spirit, known in English or whatever goddamn language this came from as the zeitgeist. Okay, I just want to make sure this is recording because I'm doing one take. I don't feel like talking about this, but I have the passion to do it one take, maybe two. So I got to check to make sure I'm recording here. By peering into the zeitgeist, what I mean is the spirit of the culture, the people. And you can do it too. It's really easy. The face of the spirit is Google and YouTube because it's the same people. That's it. YouTube it and Google it. Google cultural appropriations. Look it up on YouTube. What do you see? That is the face of the spirit. And well, this is what I saw. I use this one because this one made it on TV. So it's not just the face, it's all over the spirit's body. It was on television.
There's that tongue and just that irreverence. And anyway, inside, Miley talks about the fallout of the VMA performance that she did. She said that she's not bothered by the critics, but what does bother her is people who say that she's trying to be black. Some say Miley tries to appropriate black culture and use black background dancers like props. I would agree. I would agree. I mean, it doesn't bother me because I'm just so used to it on account of the world around us. I'll explain in a moment. We talk race relations here on the show, so please don't start scratching and get nervous and ticky, okay? Hold on, let me read you the quote and then we'll go back to race. Okay, Miley says, I don't keep my producers or dancers around because it makes me look cool. Those aren't my accessories, they're my homies. Well, listen, white people take this in the best way. Some of you have been appropriating my people's culture longer than many of us have been alive. Why? Back in the day, Chuck Berry and Little Richard, their styles were stolen and given to, say it with me, Elvis is the one who went on and made all the money and became like the king of the world, while the other two, not as big. You know, it happens. It happened with rap music. It's happened.
That was kind of awkward. It's just me. But it's a good topic to go there on. I want to say at least she didn't really totally shame herself and went back beyond, well, she stayed in her lifetime. I don't know how old she is. I don't know how old Chuck Berry is. I know he's up there. But the reality is, you can look it up, and I'd urge you to look it up. It's an interesting video. It's called Rock and Roll Before the 50s. You know, you got stuff that sounded like Chuck Berry 20 years before Chuck Berry. So I get where she's coming from. It's just, if it wasn't for rock and roll, would this all have been about Miley Cyrus dropping ass? I look at history in chunks of 50 to 250 years. Beyond that, ages, epochs. If you're going to be so short-sighted, couldn't I say that she was culturally appropriating the Mustang? I'm talking about the horse. Horses have been around longer than people, and they're easily subjugated. Now, sure, African women in their diaspora have worn weaves for thousands of years. I've even seen examples of extensions in pre-dynastic Egypt. That is some old technology. Really, Wendy, if you're just going to talk about rock and roll, can't we call you out for the weave? Can't we? You gotta see the big picture. I'm just freestyling now. I'm making shit up. But let me get back on topic. And I want to say, I know that this I know that this is a female audience predominantly, but this becomes a trend. I see a strong, well, I'll just show it to you. Near the top, I think, when I did the search, it might have been at the top. When I looked up cultural I can't even pronounce this, appropriations, when I see feminists doing videos about this, I wonder if they're just trolling white supremacists. I don't know. Like, it just seems, you'll see what I'm talking about. She defines cultural appropriations as using someone's culture outside of its context. She gives modern examples of Katy Perry, and she gives examples because she's dressed like she's wearing a kimono. She's dressed like an Egyptian. She wore a watermelon suit. I don't know what the fuck she was thinking wearing a watermelon suit. You know, it's ambiguous and difficult to really nail. It's easy to confound this. It's easy to exaggerate it on a questionable basis. You know, because I could say popping collars is black culture. Who else pops collars? It's our culture. Don't steal it. And I'd sound like a jackass. Then she calls upon a social scientist. And this social scientist has two definitions of cultural appropriations. One includes the use of force and resistance. Friendly trolling. I think it's friendly trolling. The other one is more like exploitation. Like a black exploitation movie because motherfuckers are broke and they gotta do what they gotta do. And, you know, it's that, you know, stuff that you can kind of, he was more nuanced, because when I see a social scientist quoted, especially by a feminist, I'm not expecting much in the way of pragmatism. So I want to at least look at them and just say, what kind of study are you doing? Where's your logic at? I think this guy checks out okay. The problem, though, is it doesn't really fit the narratives that the others are presenting. There's some logic to it, but it doesn't, you know, but you'll see what I mean. You know, like I'll just give an example. The way he talks about, this guy Rogers talks about cultural appropriation, I don't know if you can include talking sassy and dropping ass, but that's included by everybody else. I'll just leave it simple like that. And he realizes that shit's gonna flip. And most likely, and this is something I'll talk about later, it's already there. White people have been dropping ass since they were a scattered group. I can't put it any better than that. They've been dropping ass since the first albino, before there was like a group. You know, because let's be real, the big problem in what this guy's talking about, and I forgot his name, I think it's Rogers or something, R&R, Richard A. Rogers. The big problem are the wars of aggression in the first place. So when I see people talking about this, I want to know, were they checking Dick Cheney, Bush, Condoleezza Rice, Donald Rumsfeld? Because they were running game, and this has been $1 trillion war that has done nothing. Not a goddamn thing. Were they checking them? Another 20% at least to our debt from this shit alone. Not that I care about debt at all. It's all fake anyway. A bunch of IOU. Just give us an interest check, America, and we'll be okay. You know. But what the hell? They don't care about the big picture. Are we culturally appropriating Iraqis now? Making movies? You know, people are getting paid for these movies about Iraq. At the very top, and it might not be at the top now, I'm not sure. You'll have to look if you care. Cultural appropriations in Google, I see Derek Clifton. Come on down, Derek Clifton. This brother, like Marina, I didn't even talk about Marina. Did I just call her a feminist? An asshole. Marina, well, she is a feminist. Okay. Well, so is Clifton. He's also a feminist. So we already span the gauntlet. We can produce anything now. Well, he doesn't say he's a feminist, but he pretty much says he's a feminist. He says he's a culture, social justice, black, queer, gender fluid, on fleek. I'm sorry. I call him a feminist because he wrote a piece about about how a man can become a feminist. You can see it. Hold on. I'm going to put that up. You know, I guess that would make him a master feminist professor. He can produce male feminists. And I don't see how anyone is queer, gender fluid, would have a problem with me, Lee Cyrus, popping black ass. I don't. He writes an article about the 5 things people need to learn about cultural appropriations, bitch. I mean, I wish he could put bitch in his article titles. That would make me read them. I thought the article was a tough read, though. I don't really have a strong opinion on it. It's just that none of the examples, and including the lead example was Katy Perry posing with watermelons, acting sassy, wearing cornrows. Again, this makes me think, is this the big picture, or are you scraping the bottom of the barrel? Katy Perry's cornrow? Personally, I prefer her with cornrows and talking sassy. You tell me, what would be more fun? Katy Perry or Katy Perry with cornrows talking sassy? But then again, I am a pervert. I think with my testicles. And I also think with my brain, but I figure it's better to have two brains than one. I unite them. And I think with both. I'm an asshole. I love it. This is beautiful. This is Sunday. But I'll have my weekly beer. I have one a week. If I want it. Sometimes I'll pass. You see, there's a problem I have with cultural appropriations, this whole topic. If you are aggrieved or victimized, you have to have a point in which you are satisfied. Otherwise, you're just bitching. And bitching will not get you a goddamn thing. I see a lot of moving of the bar to create something to complain about, and nothing will ever happen at all. If I'm on a jury and you bring a white person wearing dreads or cornrows and you say that, are we going to find these people? That will never happen. But if it did happen, I would say, motherfuck you! God damn it! Because I know if you're going to take that much freedom from a white person, I ain't far from being in prison. So nothing's going to happen to these people, even if it's a little offensive. If you want to do something, target the worst thing they did. Was it the watermelon suit? What was it? Was it popping ass? Wearing cornrow? Wahoo was worse than that shit. But I'll show you. I will get to culture appropriating African culture. And I will only touch on it a little bit. Just a tiny bit. Because it's so awesome that what was given, brought through just people being people, is so huge. But if you look at what they're talking about, there's some logic behind their bitching. Amanda Stenberg, this is also at the top of the spirit of the media. I think she was number 3 on YouTube when you search for cultural appropriation. Now I'm peering into the zeitgeist, and Amanda Stenberg has a video talking about "Don't Cash Crop on My Cornrows." I like that title. I like that title. I like Amanda. She's experienced the stupid / self-centered side of bigotry early in her life when people thought her character was white. I have not read the book, but I know somebody who pulled me aside and they were like, I can't believe, this was a white person. I don't know what's wrong with these people. I knew she was black. They described her completely. I'm talking about Rue from Hunger Games. They described her completely. They didn't just, unless you specify it for people that are this self-centered, and I can get into why they're self-centered. So I get Amanda Stenberg has already been through the idiot side of the game when it comes to bigotry. The self-centered idiot side of the game. I'm willing to give her a pass. I'm glad at least she has an opinion. And she also says that she's a feminist. However, she says she's a black feminist, which is different from white. It seems like black feminists are far less organized and powerful. So even when I look at it like, are they a threat? You know what I'm saying? Like, are they, because look, man, Robin Hood doesn't need to come home to baby mama drama. You can't have a revolt with Robin Hood on child support. You dig? You just can't. But they're all over the place with their opinions, so really I don't think it matters. Basically, I'm not sure Amanda realizes it or not, but she says, I'm a feminist, but I'm completely ineffective, aka black feminist. I'm a feminist without political power. Actually, she probably does have some political power because she's a good actress. She can make some money. I think I can offer her some food for thought. Because I'm just getting started. This is going to get a lot better. I haven't gotten to the grit. None of them said anything about Exodus, gods, and kings. I looked hard. Maybe they said something and it didn't get printed because, that happens. Actually, Derek Clifton did say something about Ridley Scott when he said it's impossible to finance a film with a lead, an unknown, bunch of unknown actors named Muhammad and so and blah, blah, blah. And Derek called him out because that was a greasy, stupid thing to say. You get Christian Bale and a whole bunch of people named Muhammad, you're doing okay. Because who even heard Sigourney Weaver had a goddamn no role in that movie, hardly. I didn't even see Sigourney Weaver. I barely watched the movie. And no, I didn't pay to watch the goddamn movie. I didn't even order it. I walked in on some people ordering it, and I threw a fit. But then I calmed down, I watched it, and I was like, man, they whitewashed an entire nation. These people didn't say a goddamn thing about it. And let me give Derek Clifton a little bit of some perspective. You need to have some perspective, Derek. See, I don't like when people start off with you need, but since he did it, these are the things you need to learn about cultural appropriations. Well, things you need to learn about history, Derek. Yeah, I'm shaking my head. Muhammad lived 2,000 years after the time in which the Exodus was supposed to happen. Roughly, give or take, 2,000 years. People weren't walking around named Muhammad. An entire nation whitewashed on a $100 million venture. And they had shit to say. Katy Perry dressing up like an Egyptian, Marina? She had something to say about that. But Rupert Murdoch doing the same thing because he financed the film Ridley Scott to an entire nation. That's not cultural appropriation. Do you not realize if dropping ass, talking sassy and wearing cornrows, eating watermelon, do you not realize if that isn't universal, you haven't lived. People have been doing that. Why is it so narrow? Katy Perry, Miley Cyrus. It makes you think, what the fuck is going on? It's hard to find an African-American neighborhood where a third of the families aren't in a poverty pact with the government, or a dime versus dime deadbeat parent pact with the government. Those neighborhoods aren't going to change or stimulate themselves with a bunch of state-sponsored broken families. This is a straitjacket in a prison. The prison, white supremacy. The straitjacket, you've been in it, and you're enjoying it. It looks like you put it on your goddamn self because you're happy. Miley Cyrus's ass, you're into that. You're watching TV. Miley Cyrus's ass popularized a social term, and that is what the spirit of the zeitgeist told me. I said, God damn it, I can talk to spirit. Woo! How many of you can say you can do that? And have it tell you something. And what it told me was Miley Cyrus's ass popularized a social term. Do you not realize what the fuck is wrong with these people? They're petty. If Americans borrowed nothing from Africa but its family system, maybe a pre-pregnancy parenting plan, 4 Ps, I like that. I could do a video about that. That's how you remove the straitjacket. Do that. And I'm speaking to you black Europeans. I'm speaking to you Afrikaans, Akabibilians, colored folks everywhere. If you're going through the bullshit, do that. Sue the fuck out of the United States. Irish, you can sue too, because you motherfuckers were slaves, not indentured servants. Just clearing up some factual clerical errors in history. Thank you. Don't mention it. Fix that. I like the conscious community. To me, they are good people. I like them because if they're just moving you a little towards Garvey, it's better than moving you the opposite direction. That is a solution, and it might get bloody. Still believe that the best wins are the ones you don't have to fight. If you can win without fighting, then you have saved your resources for a fight that you can't win without fighting. And if you keep out maneuvering them, you will have peace. Or they'll kick you out of their country, like they do the Jews. You're beating us. Kick you out. So it has to be a nationalist movement, because you cannot win without a ground, a home. I'd say homes everywhere. Get land everywhere in the world. Kick ass. That's what the spirit told me. The spirit was cool. The zeitgeist is cool. It can't change itself. I don't have the power to change it. I'm just telling you what it said. If your argument is that Iggy Azalea blows up because society is socially engineered, some white people are self-centered, the same people that didn't know Rue was fucking black, then no argument. I don't care. Let's throw it out there.
I was raised with the raised fist, Angela Davis, summer 68 Olympics. Train banging your wings against the chain. In the events you became cageless. Aim of my existence is to resist. Back never bent, reload, never relent. Of all light shown, I'm a glimmering glint. Was named after a king in our midst, the great sis. Trades the world in the ring with his fist. More so with the gift when it rang from his lips. Bigger than just the individual gift. He had a vision for bringing dignity to the crib. Gold medalist in his Olympic event. Significant respect glistening on off his neck. You flag waved, the globe silent. Ward everywhere he went, just to show what it's meant. Crept off the plane, back on the pavement. People hell-bent, they would never relent. Celebrate him, but his can still clenched. And the problem, one piece of metal couldn't fix. Legend is he pitched it in the Ohio River. What good the recognition when I know that I'm a victim? Hell-bound in a hell-back curriculum. Class president / second-class citizen. Diligent to fight defeat folk. 19 years old, sacrifices ego. Here we go. Was that all 5?
Brother Ali is grioing. He is grioing. Bit-a-bop. Drop in history. Before I go into the next topic, and I'll try to converge it. I don't know if I'll... Actually, I know I will, because you'll see in a minute. Oh, you will see. I decided to talk to another spirit. This spirit, the Egyptians called Jehuti. Knowledge. Information. But before I go into that topic, to the next one, there is a such thing as culture. But it has to work for you. You don't produce it. It is something your kids follow. That's why I went into that rant about how important family is and how if you don't have that right, if you don't have that straitjacket taken out, get out of the prison system. You're just not. And I mean that more figuratively. You're not going to get out. Because raising to the level that would improve this planet would require doing so much to get out of the system or destroy it from within, rebel it, end it. You can't do it with a straitjacket on. You just can't. I hate to say it. It's sad. I could die tomorrow with the straitjacket on. There's a certain cultural shield. And sometimes you get it by being narrow, sometimes by being worldly. I heard someone from the Amin Ra squad, I think it was Ankh, who talked about something like this, how you could go anywhere in the world and you're okay because you know who you are. And everybody else knows who you are. There's, outside of the Nation of Islam, a minority of Christians, and when I say Christians, I include Buddhists, Heru priests, Hindus, people that are really down with Islam. Actually, I don't include them. Doesn't it say in the Quran you have to stick by Jesus? Outside of these people who are really fundamental, and I think they're a minority, and you know what? I got issues with them. I'm not into that camp. But outside of them, and I admire them because they have shields. Their noses are not wide open to the whims of whatever social engineering. The people that have the ability to socially engineer, and you know who they are, because they're going to be engineered for profitability, if possible. We are in science right now. It's all computerized. And just to be clear, but what does that have to do with black Vikings or cultural appropriation? You just have to follow me a little bit. Stick around. I started studying history to learn more about ancient cultures for a game setting I was creating. Before that, I can say I read The Brief History of Time, shit like that. I watched some of the best scientists in the world just have a discussion about was the holographic universe. It's on YouTube. That one you can find. Look for, if you see a big video of a bunch of white people talking about the holographic universe, very interesting. And I'm a creature of correlation. Something started to correlate. And before it even correlated, I saw in the comments of one of these videos the ancients knew about this stuff. And I said, really? Nobody ever told me that they knew about this stuff. I'm curious. And I'm not going to go into too much detail and make this really long, but I saw enough correlation. If you look up Laird Strait in East and West Africa, there should be a better title for that, but I think that's the only way you can find it. It's about the Dogon and the Maori and the Egyptians, how their hieroglyphs tell the same story as theoretical physics. Now, a lot of people would come into that with a lot of doubt. I was starting to see that they already had a lot of cracking intelligence before I got to that video. So that video was kind of like, I would expect to see it and bridge this. E.A. Wallace Budge, famous 19th, 20th century Egyptologist, one of the first to translate, I think it was the first to translate one of the in Heru books, which are called the Book of the Dead because they were buried with dead people. And I think the translation is something coming forth by day or something like that. It's transition maneuvers. Speak the language of the spirits, get into the afterlife. You got to have a light heart and all that. So look up the negative confessions. Very interesting. E.A. Wallace Budge, 19th and 20th century Egyptologist. He said there's no doubt Egyptian religion, Osiris, the resurrection, that the beliefs examined herein are of indigenous origin, Nilotic or Sudani, the broadness signification of the word, and I have endeavored to explain those which cannot be elucidated in any other way. And he just went on to blah, 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 blah. And he said, this is a religion of the modern people who live on the great rivers of East, West, and Central Africa. Motherfucker. And I said, I bet you he had his balls in his hand when he was saying that. But I didn't see it. I was whiskey dumb with social engineering. Actually, whiskey more. I can't say I was marijuana dumb because I was smoking weed when I learned most of this. Maybe not at the time. And I don't drink whiskey, so I was just dumb. Without the flying ears, the nose, and all the good shit that comes along with being dumb, I was dumb. My reaction to it was extremely honky-fi. Well, how come they got different gods than Osiris? I was smart enough to know I was dumb. There was something I didn't know, that the ancient Egyptian religion, which always seemed more like the Greek religion, the whole mythology and shit, I didn't see that it's the same thing that Africans practiced to a goddamn letter. Same culture. And then these DNA studies come out, and they take you right back to East, West, and Central Africa. Okay, all right. Somebody is fucking fixing my ass. I'm undumbing myself. I'm the opposite of being dumbed down. This is enlightenment. I've come into the light. Ra is shining his blessing. Tahuti is getting my chakras flowing. This is some good shit. I began to identify with this culture. And I'm saying I'm of the same branch in the family tree, the same goddamn haplogroup. Most likely. I haven't checked mine. I might do at the end of the month. But see, I went further than a lot of the Moors do. The Moors don't want to tell you this. A lot of people don't want to tell you this. I'm going to tell you. Bitch. You know why? Because it's true. Before all of this Abrahamic stuff, it was the same religion as the Greeks and the Aztecs, the Chinese, the Japanese, India. The world had the same religion all over Africa. E.A. Wallace Budge didn't tell him that, but I'm going to tell it. You go by Marina's definition of culture, practices, beliefs, ideas, values, traditions. And since their watermelons talked about, I'll mention food. Because people eat meat. Egyptians and Africans eat bush meat. People eat meat. People eat bread. See bread everywhere. Bread predates civilization as you know it. Bread was around before Egypt. Metal, pyramids are not a coincidence. That is culture traveling. When you see people with skizzled teeth, neck rings, giant ass goddamn earrings, and they don't look alike, it's because they came in contact or they used to be the same people who are using them today. There are ancestral tribes everywhere, Stonehenges everywhere. The people that said that Africans or some foreign dark-skinned people built Stonehenge, they said it before we found Stonehenges in Africa. And they were Europeans. Divinations. A goddamn divination bowl. Sacrifices. Kill an animal without doing a ritual, right? Not according to planet Earth. Everybody was doing them. Doctors, law, chemistry, stone carvings, dynastic kings with priests of different ethos, mythology, my ass. It's always about real shit. The sun, earth, agriculture, water. Can't get more real than water. Craft, creativity. Sometimes demons, people will act up. A lot of the sharks, you go to certain places, man, they got a god for the sharks. But it's not really a god. It is a manifestation of all that we know. Because if you wanted to be a priest back in those days, you had to know. Cocaine, mummies, it's what you're supposed to see when you have a pyramid developing culture and pyramids over here. Otherwise, tell me what I'm thinking about right now. I'm an experiment, because you can prove to me that these pyramids didn't come from a Nile Valley, and I'll tell you exactly how you can do it. Tell me what I'm thinking about right now and draw a picture of it. I'll leave it at that. If you can do that, then I'll say, God damn, man, we are on the same wavelength. These, the Nile Valley, they didn't spread this culture, this architecture and shit. They didn't spread this. Man, they knew how to do it naturally, on their own. It's just coincidence that you don't see much development. If you were a priest of X, you had to master X. Give a damn what it is. If it was about the sun, you had to know when it was coming up, when it was going down. It wasn't just the sun. What are these other things? Are those sun too? Planet? You had to know space. They knew it well enough to understand a singularity and an expansion with atomic particles. The Dogon will break that down to you right now. Same system all over the planet. Man, why are you bullshitting about shaking ass? For the vast majority of the world's history, the superpowers let nature take its course. There were wars. Just because it's very similar culture doesn't mean there wasn't war. There was wars. But it was about the same shit we fight wars over now. Water, resources. The first war in the Nile Valley that we have record of with the Scorpion King, I might do a script about that. When I finish the project I'm working on, that would be fun. But that first war was over water. Shit was drying up. People were coming from different locations, different nations. It was already nations. Ancient Egypt is built on ruins of previous nations. First Pharaoh was fighting over a land that had already lived. It was known as Mizraim and Mizraim from other places because it was two lands. That was the word for two lands. Two nations that came together after a war. I think it would be a great trilogy, but I won't start working on it until 2016 at the earliest. Philosophy was the same everywhere. This philosophy is the mother of Abrahamic religion. The propaganda had to be parsed within the same paradigm when they got down, when they fought. Last time one of the mothers, you can still say China, whatever, but China is more like a divergent form of Christianity. The last time the real pure shit was destroyed, when it was destroyed, it was a Christian nation, the first Christian nation, Axum, destroying its mother, which was Cush, even after she saved its grandchild, Judaism. Because Judaism is not the father of Christianity, it's the son. This following of anointed ones, it's always existed. Judaism was a new concept that changed the world. When Axum destroyed Cush, I doubt it was personal. They had already fought. Cush had survived a lot of different empires trying to kick their ass. I don't know if the Greeks attacked them, but I know Rome tried to destroy them on several occasions. Likely Persia. They Anybody ever seen that video about I think it's some dude named Leroy. He's a preacher, and he has like a $16,000 dog. I love that video. I watch that at least once a week. I love that video. I had a $16,000 dog. I'm like, man, really? Really? Can we ride him? Let's get on him. Let's go somewhere on your dog. Because you gotta have, if it's a $16,000 dog, I need to see Clifford. We need to make some money off of this dog. It's got to be an investment. It's game, and if you're not smart enough to realize it's game, and go to somebody who isn't trying to game you, who's going to be real with you, then you get what you deserve, and it's just a so. You just go in there because it draws in the women, and you want to laugh at the motherfucker with the $16,000 dog. I get that. If I'd have been at that church when he said he had a $16,000 dog, I would have sounded like the Yin Yang Twins when they was on Dave Chappelle. I'd have sounded like a nigga Pepsi. No, it's funny. It's funny. It's entertainment. But you can't really build, you can't get down with that. You'd be better off with people that are mastering ethoses. So I don't want to sound too preachy, but you've come a long way. And I'm speaking to the black Europeans, the Africans, because there's a difference. I can go into how there's a difference. When you start saying, God damn, I don't like speaking English, you've become an African. But that's just one example. I'm going a little long. I don't want to diverge too much, but to me this is kind of important because you've come a long way from Imhotep to fucking Leroy with a $16,000 dog. You've come a long way, and I'm saying this because you're in their haplogroup. E1B1A, the only Egyptians tested, E1B1A, half of African Americans. That is your family tree, motherfuckers. You've come a long way. Motherfucking Bukulu, Narmer, the first Egyptian pharaoh, was a priest of Ptah. I didn't know that for a while because I couldn't find anything on Ptah. Man, Ptah is old. He was a priest of Ptah. He was a priest of creativity. He was somebody who was building shit. Craftsman. He's a craftsman and ends up having to fight a war. Wins it, unites a kingdom. That's where your priests were. Now they got $16,000 dogs. Well, sick them on somebody. I want to see the $16,000 dog in action. That would be a hell of a cartoon. Leroy's $16,000 dog. What's his name? McFarlane? That would be oh boy, I'd watch that yesterday. I'd watch that, and I get you. See, I know you. It's a responsibility to identify with Africa because it's difficult because you're going to get shitted on all the time. They whitewashed that movie something cold. At no point when you're looking at 10 people, do they even look darker than the lightest skin pictures when they're like running out of red fucking dye and they got like some light ass red, or they've been in, or the shit's been redone by the current Egyptian government. It's still darker than the people they had played ancient Egyptians. It was wild. It was foul and wild. And the feminists at the top of the zeitgeist didn't say a goddamn thing. They complained about cornrows and stuff. So I get it. It's cold. And African Americans be like, look, we've been to space. Held the heavyweight championship. A black man invented the video game system with cartridges, and that's true, man. I told somebody that at the laundry mart, shut her up talking shit about video games. I was like, well, it was a system, man. I was like, well, a brother did in the 70s, brother, you can look him up because he had video games on the goddamn 8-track. Ain't nobody can say they had video games on an 8-track. The motherfucking video game console looked like a cup holder in a Cadillac. So yeah, African Americans, they don't like Africa as much as they probably should if they knew how much they were related to it. They get to saying shit like, at the end of the day, blah, 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 at the end of the day, you sound like you are a priest of fucking Ra. And just maybe, because I'm telling you, just the family system alone would take off the straitjacket. So I digress. I don't want to sound too preachy. I want to get back onto the subject of black Vikings. But I need to really explain what's in my head before I go there, because I'm using absolute terms, and I'm going to get into where these terms came from. When people study human genetics, they start to sound awfully colorblind. And I see this, or they're the complete opposite, where they're trying to just classify everybody. I can go both ways. And I'm not really that learnt on the subject, but I'm learnt enough, especially when I look at everything like a family tree. When I look at everything visually, I can see that this is a really short tree. When you remove the archaics, like Heidelbergensis, Neanderthal, Denisovan, the human family tree is small. It is a new sprout. It's a strange family tree. Because people can look vastly different in different populations. But part of it is we went everywhere. And when I talk about black Vikings, and we were thinned out, we were herded because by the climate. So when I talk about black Vikings, understand, and I'm going to quiet down a little bit. It's getting late. I see no object definition of race and genetics at all. I see the exact opposite of an object definition. The definition of black, let me show you. Let me move this thing along a little bit. Black is something that was recently coined. You can see it slowly, one country, the U.S. had a whole bunch of definitions of black. These are modern nations' recent history defining yellow, red, white. And if they'd have found somebody in the ocean with blue skin, God damn it, they would have found them too. They'd have found Atlantis, if they'd have found whatever, they were breaking it down with a bias. And I'll go deeper on that. So when I use the term black, I realize this is social creation, of course. This modern illusion of racial purity, it's polarizing. Otherwise, you wouldn't see people saying, you know what, we invented cornrows and twerking in the 20th century, and, y'all motherfuckers are copying us. That's how polarizing it is, and people don't really look at it from that angle. That's why I made this video. I want to broaden anyone's mind that honestly believes we invented cornrows recently, and dreads recently. And it didn't spread all across the goddamn world. Because, I could show, you see, like I said, these carved teeth, these big-ass bowls in people's lips, neck rings, and Seminole Indians, it's hard to look it up to really find it, where they break it down. They were known for having gold in their mouth. Dreadlock. An honest genetic map offers some clarity. Same with an unpropagandized linguistic map. And if you look at this map, it's not 100. It's a little dated because it's still showing one route into the Americas in ancient history. The Bering Strait alone ain't going to produce the diversity. And it was just one guesstimation anyway. The history of America is constantly, the ancient history is constantly being rewritten because you keep finding people that are older and older and older. When I look at how dark some of these Aztecs and Mayans were, and you know what I also see? All over, the same culture. Animism. The ancestral tribes in Africa are so diverse. And I'll demonstrate that when I get deeper into the Vikings. Looking at this, I disagree, though, with the reasoning behind that vitamin D deficiency. My theory is that it's just stacked albinism and not paying for it, benefiting from it. Up in Russia, when it was livable. I remember when it was suggested that everyone outside of Africa, and a few tribes have been included in that recently, and there is an alternative explanation, but there was a suggestion that everyone outside of Africa had Neanderthal DNA, and that caused a racial shitstorm in the zeitgeist. People were making pictures of Neanderthals, and that sort of changed when it came out that Neanderthals were black. What do I mean by black? It was created after Neanderthals, but they have the same genetic skin portfolio of people that are called black. That means they're black. That to me, I'm a cause and effect. I'm a literalist. Okay, you have the same color skin as people that are called black. You're black next. I'm just going by what's on paper. I don't really give a shit. Because I don't really see it as anything objective. People can have their albino children and they can mix and make brown and they can. I'm just going there because she said she didn't date white boys with dreadlocks, and I'm like, well, what if I have a kid with somebody who's pale, and the kid's an albino and he looks just like a white person because took after mama, but he wants to be like me and wear dreadlocks, and now you won't date them because you're an idiot. If I want to say, hey, those people, they have some thick-ass eyebrows, man. Those are thick eyebrowlians. I've created a race. So, however you want to create it, then you're fine. And, like thick eyebrows, used to have these laws, and they were pretty prevalent in the States. In the dominant culture, the U.S. at its peak, right before its peak, 1/8, 1/16, you're black. So I think based on some of that stuff, the Vikings are definitely black. I'll show some pictures of them. I'm not sure if they would have passed a paper bag test, because it's not a lot of pictures. It was such an incompetent definition, the black people. It was incompetent, because it didn't include all black people. Well, some of the places that had paper bag tests did, but you got to include black people if you make a black race. Otherwise, you're trying to game me. And niggas will be like, and I don't even want to disgrace the word nigga because it has good connotations, but you got to be awfully fucked in the head to be like, they's not black. No, they're black. They're black. But like I said, you can have whatever definition, but I'm going to call my definition of what black is black. I realize, like, looking at genetic map, because I tell you, a real out of Africa rap map is scribble scrabble. If you look at these folks, ancient forerunner, Asian Adam, European Adam, the old ways, everything was divine. Everything living, divine. Everything alive, everything, period, divine. Everything that you're made out of. And people still practice that. I'm still down with some animism. If I removed half the DNA you share with a banana, you'd be less than shit. Just a foul-smelling clump of odorous fiber. Remove the DNA you share with another person. Could be someone at the far end of the family tree. You would be microscopic. So I get that. We are that linked. Like Hippocrates said, I'm the child of Imhotep. You go about 2,000 years ago. Let's go back 2,000 years. Travel all around. What from that perspective, because the rap maps are upside down, you have Africa and you have South Africa, being Europe. People are doing the same thing. You could have called them traditional European religions if it wasn't for Jesus. Instead it's called paganism. The Native American system, same thing. The mother of Judaism and modern Jesus Christianity was the mother of that. Animism, mythology, voodoo, Wicca, it's still around. And it ain't mythology. It's always about real shit. Always about real shit. You couldn't be a priest if you weren't about real shit. You can't talk about if you're a Viking, you can't sit around talking about Thor. Come on, you gotta eat. When you be a priest, you gotta know real shit, man. You gotta be able to slam that gavel, that anvil, that hammer on the anvil. There's a DNA study on Vikings. Maternal haplogroup I and X2C. It's a difficult read. It appears to have come up in, I think they said half of the Vikings that they tested. It's a maternal haplogroup. It's the female side of the family tree. Just because, like, if we look at where those haplogroups show up and likely originated, I'll just let it play. As you can see, and Wikipedia is funny when it comes to these DNA studies. They will contradict themselves. Like they said, it's the highest frequencies are found in, I think, Eastern Europe, and that isn't true. They show higher frequencies, and even say it in another section in Kenya. So we have a family tree that appears to start off in Kenya, and that is true with one of the haplogroups. The other is scattered sparsely throughout Europe and Asia. So it's sparsely scattered, while the other is more linear. So we'll start off with the other one. I won't even go too much in the one in Asia because it's so few people. Well, one of the people show up in both, and I think that's also the strongest. So I might stop there. There's also one. There was a person, I think, where they found Kenyan's been found in a man, like for a paternal haplogroup, but it was like one dude out of 30 people. So there's some correlation both with Kenya and and I think Israel. These are some of the people from, I think it's Rendille tribe. If you take a look at them right away, they look ancestral than a motherfucker. God damn, they look ancestral. And they are sporting those collars. She is good looking. I could just leave it there and just sit down. I'll go to Kenya. Nice tooth. So this is the Rendille tribe. They look like people from everywhere. She's a handsome woman her damn self. I am digging this. And this is a fella from the Samburu tribe. He was there. They were third in Kenya, but they didn't test too many people. The way Wikipedia has it set up is they track people that have been tested in previous stories, and they have a matrix. It works. But they are hypocritical and biased. But as long as they show their work so you can see it and they cite their work, I'm okay with it. And these are folks from the Old Druze tribe. I think that's what they're called. I could be hacking these people up. I think I might have some more pictures of them when early Christians, yo. They might be the descendants of Vikings. You never know. They got them beards strong. They are bearded tight. I think these are the Lemko people. Hard to find pictures of them. They are very rural. Hold on, I gotta let the cat in. Anyway, this is the Lemko tribe. And you also see that people from Kirk Island, Croatia. I couldn't find that many pictures of people from Kirk Island. It seemed like there's only people... Because, I mean, I know there's a lot of morphology and all that bullshit. And I say bullshit because usually when people talk about morphology, as opposed to how people look, they're just bullshitting. I realize that people look different, you know, and that can change. It's all about who your parents are more than anything, and you might not end up looking like your parents. So I'm looking for Croatians, and this picture catches my eye. That is sexy, in my opinion. So I decided I was going to follow the link. Hold on, I got to move my goddamn plate because the cat jumped on the table. I'm okay with that. What do you think? You want a meow? Cat's on the table in the silvery moon. She usually doesn't like me to pet her. She's very feral. So I see this picture. Marcus Garvey would have thought that picture was sexy. He was like, we're going to go to Africa. We're going to stop in Croatia along the way. They drop an ass like that. And it goes back to my original point. They ain't Croatia, cuz. They ain't appropriating culture. I mean, seriously. You think she's going to drop ass? I'm betting she's going to drop that ass. I got to play it for you. I'm going to let you place your bets in your mind right now. Is she going to drop her ass? Yeah!
Glocks talk, man.
Man, I up, they my judge. That's the El Omo people. More of people than tribes. Supposedly, they're not too large. So this is also the Omo, and you can see they look awfully palm trunks, tiny population, fishes in the Nile, occasionally hunting crocodiles and hippos. Bush meat, bro. They eat crocodiles and hippos. And the first pharaoh got killed fucking with a hippo. But you look at them, and you know the diversity. I wonder sometimes if the people that have the power to fund shit, and you can look and just see like what companies they are and all that, but are they clowning us? Because how come, I watched the show, how come homeboy, he kind of looks like an El Lomo? You know, and then you look at Idris Elba, but then you go back to Hitler though. I'm just showing how small the family tree is. This doesn't show that they would pass no goddamn paper bag test. That the 15 states, you know, that come up with their definition of race would say, y'all are not white enough. I'm sorry, Vikings. That doesn't say that. And like I said, I had to let that cat out. Like I said, I consulted the spirit of Tahuti, and I already knew. There have been stories about black Vikings for a little while now, for years. European historians have told this shit. Wynne Jones cited Welsh chroniclers. I don't even like. She didn't even leave their names, and she seemed a little perturbed about it. She was like, "Man, they said the Norwegians, by way of Iceland, were pretty much all black Gentiles, black Norsemen, black pagans, these fucking devils, niggers." Okay, she didn't call them niggers. Icelandic English Dictionary is where they talk about the blackamoor, the blamoor, black man, Negro. There's always been stories about black Vikings. Idris Elba playing a Viking was people in the know trolling the ignorant. Because there's always been stories like from people that just spun folk that they learned from different oral historians to people that have read stuff, and there are some pictures I'll even. But it's not the most credible history. When they were called Blamoors, the Danes, like the Moor-like men, that's how David McRitchie referred to him. And McRitchie, he cited hard. He's considered a real historian, even though his techniques are very folkish. But he cited hard. So he said black folks built, Moorish folks built Stonehenge. This stuff has been out there. So when you see a DNA test and that they have what looks like a substrate, maybe the beginning of the branch, most likely the beginning in Kenya, not really that surprising. What is somewhat surprising is we're talking about recent history. We're talking about a branch that's less than 20,000 years old. But then when you see how it crisscrosses and how the newer dominant and passes more seed, or in this case, since we're talking about female, gets more seeds passing into them because they looking good, showing that truth image of the woman, then it goes on. And they have kids, and it helps to be athletic, be able to drop some ass. One of my favorite stories, and I think this might even come from McRitchie, a lot of people quote it though. When they talk about the history of the Vikings, they always bring in a man of height, Thorvard, who marries Freydis, the daughter of Eric the Red, Thorvald, the son of Eric, Thornhall the hunter, long been with Eric, served him as a huntsman in summer and steward in winter, large man, strong man, black and like a giant, silent and foul-mouthed in his speech. That's different, silent and foul-mouthed. Usually when people are foul, they're running their mouth. So this wasn't Corey Holcomb. He wasn't talking about skeeting on bitches. If he was silent about it. It was skeet on that bitch. And he egged on Eric. And in some of the other depictions, they describe him as a bad Christian. What I'm saying is, it's out there. You can look at the pictures, and you can see why there is some ambiguity. This picture, he tried to rape this Thracian woman, and she was big. She stabbed his ass, and then they made reparations like, don't stab no more of us, you giant woman, you giant man chick. We don't play that. This is what we see on TV. Got some braids. Could use some gold in their mouth. And they do sacrifices. This isn't even the best sacrifice. They even dressed up in all white. It was straight voodoo shit. And then they had to do the blind seer divinations, traditional human culture, known as traditional African, because, as they say, in everything, the oldest tends to have the most diversity, and it holds on to the identity longer. This is like one of the best pictures. This is some other pictures. Like some of them, I don't know how credible they are, but at least the one where Homeboy is getting stabbed, there's some text to it, and they're talking about Norsemen, and they're described as Vikings and all that and jazz, and they got the beards. They kind of look like just average Joes, but they've got some bless in their flesh. They're a little dark-skinned. I don't think that's passing the paper bag test. So based on that antiquated social definition, that caste system, all that jazz, I'm thinking the Vikings were black, and we got trolled with Idris Elba by people in the know. This is this picture right here. We have some cornrows. Amandala, I'm trolling Amandala. I'm trolling Amandala. They're cash cropping on your cornrows. Ignore the culture. You've already thrown it away. But it's taken and used on television. Money is made. And we're worried about the cornrows when you've already thrown it away.
Glocks talk, man, I up there, my what's up with all these fuck? I'm sorry for the way I couldn't. I was smoking on the skunk, with a bad bitch in my truck, See my necklace, it be shining to my trunk. I be smoking dope, baby, I got vet lungs.